Hello everyone, my name is Telma and I'm going to continue studying lesson number 7 with you, entitled The Mystery of the Gospel. But today we're going to be looking at Tuesday's topic, which is the royal moral law. And our first question is, contrary to common belief, how do we know that the law of the 10 Commandments were not done away with at the cross? Let's read James chapter 2 verse 8 and 9. If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scriptures, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well. But if ye have respect to person, ye commit sin, and are convinced of the law as transgressors. So even though many people say that the law of God was done away when Jesus died at the cross, we see here that James was writing about this royal law many years after Christ. And he said that they were to fulfill this royal law, which included the commandment, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And if they were to respect people or have differences in people, one being better than the other, they were committing sin against the royal law and would be convicted by the law. And so we also see that John in Revelations 22:14 again talked about keeping the commandment. He said that to those that do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. So when we surrender our lives to Christ, our mind is brought under the control of the law. But it is this royal law which proclaims liberty to every captive. By becoming one with Christ, man is made free. Subjection to the will of Christ means restoration to perfect manhood. And it means that we are going to continue to work according to the law, doing what the law tells us. Which law defines loving our neighbor as ourselves? Which law are we referring to? Let's look in Romans chapter 13 verse 9 and compare that to Exodus 20. Romans 13:9 says, "For this thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet, and if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." So here, Paul is doing a resume of the 10 Commandments, which are found in Exodus 20, verses 1 through 17, which says at the verse 13, starts with what he repeated in Romans. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, or thy neighbor's wife, and his manservant or maidservant, nor his ox, anything else that is your neighbor's. And in this same law, it says at the beginning, and God spake all these things, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. And continues on to verse 7, saying, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. And then verse 8, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. So all of this is the law that we know, commonly known as the 10 Commandments. And it includes loving our neighbor and loving God. So we see that the disciples, after Jesus' resurrection, did not do away with the law. Instead, they continued to fulfill the law, the 10 Commandments, and to preach that we are to obey the 10 Commandments. To the point of John at the end of the Bible, the very last book of the Bible, telling us that if we do his commandments, then we will have the right to the tree of life, as we read before. So the first 4 of the commandments are summed up in one great precept, which Jesus said, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart. And the last 6 are included in the other, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Both of these commandments are an expression of the principles of law that the first cannot be kept and the second broken, nor can the second be kept and the first broken, but they work together. When God has his rightful place in the throne of our heart, the right place will be given to our neighbor. We shall love him as ourselves, and only as we love God supremely, it is possible for us to love our neighbor impartially. Christ taught his hearers that the law of God is not so many separate precepts, some of which are great in importance, while others are small in importance, and may with impunity be ignored. Our Lord presented the first 4 and the last 6 commandments as a divine whole, and teaches that the love to God will be shown by the obedience to his commandments. And so, the royal moral law still stands. It is a way for us to show that we love Christ. When Christ is in our heart, we will be willing to obey all of the commandments included from 1 to 10. And breaking one means that we're breaking all of them. So may the Lord help us to keep that in mind, to remember that the sacrifice of Jesus makes it possible for us to actually do the 10 commandments as he instructed. Before his sacrifice, it was impossible for man to do it. But now, with his help, we are able to keep the law, the complete law of God. God bless you, and I will see you again tomorrow as we continue to study this lesson of the mystery of the gospel. Bye-bye.